Hello everyone, welcome back to Glitz and Glitter. So I was tagged in a video from Resin Me Up. She was bothered by the fact that I could not get my tray to work and it was killing her, so she wanted to try it on her own. So I watched the video and she has a few good points about the heat. Now the differences, I see some differences, so I'm gonna try what she did. So we're gonna go back and forth here. My heat mat does not have a temperature gauge, so I don't know what my lowest setting is. I've never had to worry about a heat mat doing that before. My original tray mold never needed a heat mat on in order for it to work. That's the only thing that stumped me when I did these last four, is I did it once before and it worked fine. That's why I'm stumped. So a couple differences on her video to mine is she had a round tray, which was, I think, much smaller than the one I did. So I found a small tray, kind of like hers. This is the only one I had that was kind of round shaped. And this holds 16 ounces, whereas this is the one I used before. It holds like 46 ounces. And the shape is much bigger than the tray. So I think, in all honesty, I think the shape has something to do with it. I don't know. I'm going to try this one more time on the small mold. Generally, I would use 4 hour, but since she used the epoxy, I'm going to use the epoxy. I'm not going to get fancy with all the mica powders. I'm literally going to do simple with white pigment, my ocean white. I got to grab it. Ocean white for the petals. I'll drip in some alcohol inks. And we're going to see if I can do it in a round tray. So I'm going to fill this half full with 8 ounces because it holds, like I said, 16 ounces. If it does bloom, I'll go ahead and finish it. If not, we're going to have another salvaging video in the future. So let me get some epoxy mixed up this time. And that one I'm going to heat to probably 38 to 39 degrees because that one's much thinner than the 4 hour fast cure. I split it into 2 cups just to throw it through the vacuum chamber, and then I put it all back into one so it could heat up quicker and evenly. So if I would have put it in the vacuum chamber in the cup that high, it would have bubbled all over and went everywhere. So you definitely need enough room in your cup to do that. So I took out some for the white. I'm just going to get the white mixed up while we wait for that to heat up. I still have a lot of time, maybe, depending on how fast it heats up. It's only at 30 degrees Celsius right now. So I'm just going to drop 1 drop at a time. And I am not going to make this, if at all possible, as white as I normally do, because the epoxy is thinner. So I'm going to go for a skim milk type, which may just be this 1 drop. The only reason I don't like that is because you could barely see the petals. That's why I like a little more white. It's a little transparent for me. I'm just going to do a half a drop, if that's possible. That is a full drop, so I'm gonna wipe half of that off. See if that does anything. I did pick another blue. I think I'm gonna swirl a couple blues together just to give it a little more interest. And I'm going to throw this in a piping bag so I can get even lines. I did grab my heat gun ready so I could keep the viscosity low as it's trying to move. Seeing that I'm not going to be turning my heat mat on while it's curing. I've never had to do that before. In fact, I would never think of doing that, just because anytime I turn a heat mat on, it starts curing my project, and that's the last thing I want to be happening on a bloom. So I was shocked when hers came out pretty good. So what I'm wanting to see in this one is I know the edges are going to pull in. It's the center that is not working. Even on the big tray, the edges pulled in. It was the center that stopped working for some reason. I don't know. I think this is like my last tray try if it doesn't work for quite a while, because I have so many other projects I want to try to do, and you guys have seen blooms forever. Okay, I'm just going to set that aside. Let's check the resin. 31. All right, I'll put you on a pause till it's ready. We are almost there, so I'm waiting for 40 degrees, which is should be now. And the reason I'm waiting for 40 degrees is Let's Resin recommends, if you're using epoxy resin for a bloom, between 38 and 42 degrees. So I waited for right in the middle, because when I pour it out, it will cool down. It will also cool down from some of the alcohol inks that I drip into it. So I figured if I go safe at 40, we should be good. And again, I've got my heat gun out, ready to blast it with some heat, which I'm gonna do right now to pop any bubbles that formed. And there are some along the edge, so make sure you grab a tool or you're going to have a sharp edge where those bubbles decide to stay. Let me just get these out before I begin. I don't see anywhere else yet. Well, looks like I'm making some with this tool. Let's see. And I will check the temperature again just so you know what it is laying in the tray. This is such a mystery. Let's see what it is. So it went down to 37, 38, 39, 36. So different places is different temperatures. So I'm not going to be in a hurry to pour it because I do need it thicker. So we're just going to let it sit here while I play with some bubbles to get out of here. That bubble, get out. It just doesn't want to get out. Let me grab a... Oh, I think it popped. Okay. I'm just going to go over the surface. I don't want any bubbles hindering my petals. I'm going to go ahead and start dropping my alcohol inks so they could start moving. I'm just going to go random. And then I'll probably swirl them together. It's lighter blue and a darker blue. I'm going to let those spread. And then I will just, take my tool and kind of swirl them around so they're not little blobs like that. And let's just pray that this works this time, because I'm really tired of wondering and thinking, although this doesn't answer the question on the large tray. This is just trying to see the differences between mine and hers. Let me just check the temperature. Because if it's see, now it's down to 33, 34, which tells me it's too thin. And my white's just going to fall through. So I'm going to let this come back up to temperature. So because I'm standing here and nothing's like happening for the longest time, I decided to turn my heat mat on low. I don't know what the low setting is, but if I hit it's at 41 degrees on the mat itself. If I go onto the resin, I'm just trying to get this resin to rise, so I decided that's why I turned the heat mat on. So I'm at 38, 37, 38. I just don't want this to cure. So the heat mat's staying consistently around 40, 41, which is a good blooming temperature on low. And of course, as you move it around, there's different temperatures. So I'm at 38, 39, 40. It's time to go ahead and pipe my petals, I think, and see what happens. All right, whoop. I guess I'm doing it this way. I was gonna do petals, but this is a lot thinner than I wanted it to be, because it is not the same as the others. So I'm just gonna do a little bit more. All right, let me pull my petals in and hope and pray this heat mat doesn't cure it before it blooms. I am going to keep an eye. I think I'll go out this time too. I don't usually do that. I don't see it blooming yet, and that is not a good sign. So let me check the temperature. 42. My heat mat. See, my heat mat's pretty warm. I don't like it that warm while I'm wanting to get this to bloom. So I'm going to use my heat gun to help push it. Your guess is as good as mine. Of course, it's going to be hot because I just put the heat gun on it, but I want it to spread. Let me check my heat mat here. Of course, the heat gun changed everything. All right, so we're just going to, maybe I'll put you on a little time lapse so you can see what happens. It is cured, and I did peek through a light before I pour anything on the back. And look at this, you guys. I think we might be onto something. I'm pretty sure it's going to be good. I can't say 100%, but I think it's going to be good. So maybe, and I did check the heat mat. The heat mat on my low setting, and this is a large glass heat mat, ranged anywhere between 41 and 44 on the low setting, which is a perfect blooming consistent temperature for epoxy resin. Now, not for the fast cure. I don't think I would do that for fast cure, because fast cure should be at 33, and I don't have a mat that goes that cool. So we're gonna go ahead and back this. I do have a couple extras. This is from something else. This is, I marbled the rest of the white, and I only had enough for one little keychain. Check out that marble effect. Pretty cool, huh? So I'll have to come up with something to put on there. And then this is from another pour. I put my rainbow shimmer in there, and it's way more glittery in person than in the camera. So I'll put something on there and figure that out while we after we pour this, I'll do all that. So I went ahead and I mixed up my pre-made black epoxy and 8 ounces to fill it back up. I think, yeah, it should take all 8. So if we are onto something, I may, I'm not saying I will, I might work my way back up to a larger tray and see how the epoxy works on the lowest heat setting. So I do have to thank Mary, because she's the one who thought of this and tested it out herself and pushed me to try it again. So thank you, Mary. I appreciate that. I'm going to just spray this and get this cured as fast as possible so I don't have to wait much longer to see it. It's time for the reveal. So while I've been letting it cool down, I've been messing with the 2 extras. So I put Land of Liberty on this one since it was blue and white. Added a little charm for the Patriots, back coated, top coated in UV resin. So there is a keychain. And then this one, I put a butterfly on top, top coated with UV resin, added a few rhinestones, a little butterfly charm, and a little pink tassel. So those 2 are the only extras today, but at least I had some extra. Are you ready to unmold this baby? I'm so hopeful that I'm getting closer to figuring this out. I don't like working with the epoxy with the blooms, though. I have to say, I love the 4-hour. Are you ready? Oh, that's nice. That is really, if there was no like glare on there for you, look at that. That is beautiful. Now I will say, as of right now, there's a big dip in here. This mold is all scratched up. There's a bunch of scratches. There's a dip right here. So this whole thing needs to be top coated, unfortunately. And I'm going to have to use epoxy 2-part because it's way too big for UV resin. But other than this one kind of being squashed in, and I'm not sure why that happened, it really came out nice. It bloomed all the way through to the center. You could see all the layers. Very happy with this. Very happy with that. What do you think? Should I move on to a larger one and see if we can get it to work? So maybe the trick is to keep this mat at, like I said, you can't do it with 4-hour cure on the big thing. You have to use epoxy and you have to keep it at that temperature. So I'm gonna go ahead. Oh, this is so bumpy and lumpy. It's such a shame. These cheap little molds. I don't know why they do that, because it's flat right now, but I guess the heat mat just makes it buckle, and that is very sad. So I think I'm gonna top coat this. Maybe put a little bit of sparkle in it, of course. I'm gonna just wait until it's completely cured tomorrow so it's not bending when I prop it up. All right, see you tomorrow. All right, I'm ready to finish this thing. I hope it's salvageable. I taped it up, the whole back, because of any drips that might happen, and I just took the edge of the tape and I pushed it up the side, because you don't want the tape sitting out flat, because if it does drip over, it's just going to pool on the tape and then you're going to have a problem with your side. So I didn't want to go trying to trim all this geode edge, so I just pushed it up the side. Then I took some glass jars the same height and I prop it up, because this thing is so wavy, and I know you can't see it on film, but when I turned the heat mat on that cheap mold, it just made a whole bunch of waves in this piece, and I'd really like to try to salvage this piece. And I have tons of scratches on that mold, I guess. I don't even remember using that mold before, but there's tons of scratches on it. So if this is salvageable, I'm going to try to salvage it. So I'm using tabletop epoxy because anytime you do a coating, that's the best thing you should use. Oh, I have a piece of glitter embedded in there. I was going to not put glitter in this to not take away from the bloom, because the bloom is so delicate. I think I'm still not going to. There's just one piece. Maybe I'll try to dig it out with a knife instead of putting glitter in the whole thing. Oh, there you go. And then when you top coat it, actually what else I could do is sand it down. Let me move my resin out of the way. I don't have a lot of time to work with that resin. But if you sand down your surface, it will help it stick a lot easier, especially your tabletop. The tabletop gets thick really quick, so it doesn't have a ton of time to be running everywhere. So just sand down your surface is the best bet. That's especially how we do charcuterie boards. We usually do 180 grit on the boards on the wood. That way we only have to do it once, maybe twice, because it can be a pain sometimes. So just sand down your surface. Even if it's a coaster, I would be using tabletop resin, because it's going to gel up a lot faster and have a lot less time to be dripping over edges. All right, now I'm just going to take some alcohol, get it cleaned back up. It is so bumpy. I wish you guys could feel this. It is just so bumpy. Like, I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to try. I hope it works. So just take your resin. I mixed up 4 ounces. There's no way I'm going to use 4 ounces. That's a lot of resin. But I wasn't sure about all these little crevices. And just bring it to your edge gently. You could torch it since it's not in a mold, or use a lighter or alcohol or whatever. So some spots of this are going to be much deeper than others because of all the valleys that have been created by the heat mat. So I'm just going to go ahead and go around and move it all to the edge. Look at it from a side view and make sure it's all level. If not, I'll just add a little bit more. But if it drips over, I don't know. I don't know if the valleys are going to make it run off the edge or not and ruin the piece. You will find out just as well as I will. But I hope it's salvageable, because it's really, really pretty and it's worth saving. So I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward you a little bit, but this is, you just pull it to the edge and it'll hold there unless there's a bubble. If there's a bubble, make sure you tape that bubble up, or it will drain right out of the bubble. I didn't see any bubbles. Gosh, I hope I'm not wrong. There might be one right there. I may have to tape that up right there, or it's going to drain right out. I better do that right now. I didn't see that until just now. I think it's a bubble. A little bit of a bubble. So just take yourself a piece of tape. Grab one. Just a small piece of tape. Now where did it go? Right here. And try to get it even with the edge. If you don't tape that bubble up, it's just going to drain right out of it. Then you'll be praying you had tabletop resin, because it gels up faster. Even 4-hour cure resin, it takes quite a while to gel up. All right, there we go. That's better. I'm just going to dump some all around here. And like I was saying, just push it to the edge, and the surface tension should hold it right at that edge. It does take a little bit of practice, but once you get it, you get the feel of it, and you'll be able to do it all the time. I've done, gosh, I can't even count anymore how many top coats I've done, so it's just kind of instinct. But again, with this and all the valleys and all the hills and valleys on this thing, I don't know if it's going to work or not, so let's hope it works. See, it's already dripping over right here. That valley ends right there. So I don't know what's going to be left of this. I could possibly make it unlevel, but then it might drain off the other side. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to try to save it, but I don't know if I can. I'm really upset about that cheap mold. Let's hope it doesn't drip too long. But again, that's exactly why you have it up above your surface. If you don't have it up off your surface, you're going to end up adhering this. For me, it would have been adhering it to the construction paper. And then I would have to deal with all that construction paper to try to get off this piece. But this should gel up in a matter of 10 minutes and stop dripping. This isn't going to help it either because now I'm lowering the viscosity and it's just going to help drain it right off that edge. But I want my bubbles popped as well. There's something in here. So I'm just going to look at it from the side view. It looks pretty level. Like I said, it's dripping on this side over here, but hopefully it won't drip too long. I see some glitter floating, so let me just get those out and hope it stops dripping in a couple minutes. So I'm not going to use up my extra resin here for now because I might need to add a little bit more in a few minutes. So I will just babysit this for a while, and the next scene you'll know whether it worked or it didn't. All right, ladies and gents, this is another one done. Here's the extras from the tabletop resin. I stuck a little paw print on a little keychain with a charm and a thing and a little hooky thing and made that one. I just dumped some glitter in there, random glitter. This is not one that I carry. And a little bear. I drew the little heart on with a paint pen, stuck a couple rhinestones in his ears. Can barely see his face in all the glitter, but it's in there, a little crown on his head. So those are the extras for the day. And after about 10 minutes, it stopped dripping and it came out like glass and it's nice and flat. I took a paint pen and I just went around the edge. That can come off very simply. If whoever ends up with it doesn't want it, just take it off with some alcohol. But as you can see, it's now flat, no more wavy top on there. So what do you think? I'll try to get you some good pictures. I know the glare is horrible on this, especially with black on there. So it actually worked. I do want to say thank you to Mary for making me try this on the heat mat. I would never have done that any other way. So kudos to you, Mary. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. You all have a blessed day. Stick around for those last pictures, guys. Bye.